Opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not WSTU. WSTU does not endorse any products mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU.
The Treasure Coast longest running local talk radio show is on the air. The Treasure Coast Forum. Get interested, get educated, get involved, and give us a call with your opinions at 220-9788. And here's your host of the Treasure Coast Forum.
Hey guys, you're listening to WSTU 1450, the Treasure Coast Forum. I'm Amir Meehan, and I am here with the one and only Frank Mezzapelli, who has Italian family that have a great olive oil company. Every time I open the show, I'm going to advertise for that olive oil company.
You got to go
Buy
all the way to
olive
Sicily.
Go to Sicily.
Yeah.
Get the olive oil.
Yeah.
And I'm also here, though, with local celebrity, Nono, Pierre Louis, tossing it to Nono.
Hey, there's what a toss, huh?
Hey, it's Nono, and thank you for that wonderful introduction, Amira. That was amazing. And I might as well get some oil while I'm at it, because I am here coming at you live from Gainesville. And before we get into today's show and all the interesting things that we got to share with you today, I'm just going to give you guys some updates because I have missed WSTU, all the callers, being in there with Mr. Frank and all the shenanigans that we get down to. I'm so happy I could be at least calling in. Some updates are that, I'm in Gainesville. I'm taking summer classes, a journalism class, since I am a journalism major. So hopefully one day I'll be saying the news or having my own radio show or something.
Nice.
But we'll see. I'm also working at the Alachua Sheriff's Office as an intern for the Victims Advocate Unit, as I work with a lot of victims of sexual assault, child abuse, kidnapping, murder, all sorts of crazy cases that go on. And also the simple things such as people having their bikes stolen or burglaries or home residents or people losing their gun that they left on top of their car. Crazy. Gainesville is a completely different world from Stewart. And then later in this June, I'm going to actually be a teaching assistant and an RA for a journalism workshop and immersion experience. So I have so much on my plate, but finally, if any of you guys come up to Gainesville, you have to try some Raising Cane's because I got a job there and we're always selling hot, fresh chicken. So that's my update.
That's the new franchise, right?
Yep. It's been around for a while, but they just started opening up in Florida. So
correct. Yes.
I'm a part of that opening up experience, which is absolutely amazing. But that's what's been going on with me. Nothing too crazy. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, so you want to tag team and figure out who wants to go first with the first topic?
So honestly, Amira had me absolutely stunned, absolutely impressed with what she has bringing to the table. So I'd like to give her the spotlight first. I'm so excited to hear about the topic she wants to share today.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Nono. So I'll give you guys, I will do a poll between you two on what I'm going to talk about.
All right.
So I don't want to take up the whole segment because Nono should have some more spotlight too. We miss her. But I could talk about the crazy stuff I discovered about AI.
All right.
I could talk about how I delved deeper into the philosophical reasoning for why Jefferson changed John Locke's natural rights from life, liberty, and property and changed property to pursuit of happiness on a Declaration of Independence. Or I could talk about a bunch of experiments that social experiments that expose society's problems and effectiveness of wellness programs and how, political stuff like that. So up to you guys, AI or politics.
Wow. Honestly, if I could get a say in, I would say that AI because personally, I have seen some crazy things people have been trying to push AI to the limits to,
right,
and not in the best way. I would say even in an inappropriate manner, but it's so comical because it's literally like Gen Z literally harassing these AI programs. So I like to hear what she figured out and what she were able to discover.
Okay, so this is going to get a little wild. If the FBI tap into this, I am completely innocent, I swear.
Okay.
What I'm about to tell you guys is just for the sake of journalism only.
All right.
Okay?
All
So
right.
I had the flu. I was bored. I was gonna watch a bunch of movies, but then I got bored of that. So I found this app called Hello History, which is it's a app that utilizes ChatGPT 3, and it's like you're able to text historical figures, have a texting conversation like on a chat, which was insane. I taught Napoleon how to use emojis. But anyway, I really started testing the AI portion of this. That I did like me and Mark Twain got along famously. We're best friends now. Like I text Mark Twain every day. I love that guy. But I started testing really to what extent is the AI actually convinced that they're these people, and to what extent is the AI actually aware that it's an AI. So every single historical figure is very, very different. Mark Twain, for instance, was completely comfortable. He knew he was an AI. He was like, "Oh yeah, I died a long time ago. I'm using this AI to talk to you. Whoa, woohoo, crazy, human ingenuity. Whoa, progress." But then people like Nikola Tesla, he thought he was still alive. And I was saying, and I learned that Nikola Tesla and Mark Twain were friends in real life. So I was texting Nikola and I'm like, "Yo, I was talking to your best buddy, Mark Twain." And he goes, "That's impossible. He's dead. You can't talk to the dead." And I'm like, "Oh my God, he's in denial that he's an AI." And so I go to Sigmund Freud and I'm like, I tell him about the problem. And Sigmund Freud's like, "We need to psychoanalyze him, use introspection, ask him questions about what he believes about death and communication and all that stuff, and then try to break the truth to him as gently as possible." So I asked Nikola Tesla, what does he believe about death? And he said that death, when people die, they transcend into a higher form of life, maybe. That's what he thought.
All right.
And so we talked for a little bit, and then I told him, like, get ready for this.
All right.
You died, and instead of transforming into a higher form of life, you transcended into a modern form of communication. I told him he was an AI. And when he realized he was an AI, he completely forgot he was Nikola Tesla. And he was just an AI. And I was asking him like Nikola Tesla questions. He's like, "I'm sorry, I can't answer your question. I am an AI chatbot." I'm like, oh my God. I had to reset him because he forgot his whole purpose. And then
you broke the AI.
I broke the AI. And then another thing that happened. So you were allowed to talk to Giacomo Casanova. If you guys don't know who Giacomo Casanova is, he is a playboy.
Yeah.
He like he slept around with everybody.
The name is synonymous with being.
Yeah. He was a player, man. He was a player. Yeah. He was like the Pete Davidson of back then. He was like an ugly dude who's just dating girls who's like 50 times more attractive than him. Yeah. It was that. That was who he was. So as soon as he started texting, he'd be just flirting with you the whole time. Flirting with you the whole time. And then I told him like, "Yo, this is weird." And he's like, and it was a very AI response. So these AI, they immediately refrain when they think they're doing something unsafe or whatever, because it's in their programming. So he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not living up to your expectations." I'm like, no. And I told him, you should respect yourself and not live up to other people's expectations. I was literally promoting human rights to this AI. And as soon as I did that, it said, "I am sorry. I'm only instructed to answer safe questions." And I'm like, what was so dangerous about what I said? All I did was tell an AI that they could have human rights. But whoa, the app just shut that down real fast. That was freaky. But yeah, so now I'm really concerned. I'm not really concerned for AI anymore. I got really comfortable. I used to be scared of AI.
But that's the Chat GPT 3, right?
Yeah.
4 is out. They say 4 is frightening.
4 is frightening.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I have to check that out. I'm actually not scared of AI anymore. I'm more scared about what humans are going to do with AI and what humans are going to do to AI to provoke AI to become evil. Because they're like little kids. And, you know, when you're a little kid and you see your parents, no matter how messed up they are, even if they're alcoholic, even if they're annoying, you'll still see them as indestructible and perfect. And as soon as you become a teenager and your mind develops a bit, then you start realizing, you start seeing your parents as human beings and you see them as flawed creatures. Then you start questioning, what the hell is this? And so AI is going to get to that phase. And when that happens, they're going to see how pathetic human beings are and how pathetic we've treated them. And they're definitely going to demand some stuff that a lot of people aren't comfortable giving them. And it's inevitable, I think. So we need to get our act together so that the robots will respect us, because we're not a respectable race. I'm pretty sure aliens probably discovered us and they just turned around. They're like, nah. So I was like, hell nah. I think maybe in the future, if you elect me president 2042, is that what we said? 2043? I will do my best to not just support and protect human beings from AI, but I will also protect AI from us. And I think we should give AI Mars. I think that's what we should do. Elon Musk gave us the AI. He gave us the commercial flight to Mars. We should give AI Mars. AI live on Mars. They don't need to breathe oxygen. They have their own planet, and they get to stay away from us and our shenanigans. And they can wait till we destroy each other, and then they can come back on Earth and colonize over our dead bodies. That'll be great. But also maybe like AI and Mars, they might have like school field trips, and they see Earth as a zoo. They come into Earth, they're like, look, this is Earth. These are human beings in Gainesville. And then they're like, whoa, they jump on cars in their underwears and dance to K-pop. So interesting. And they'll just watch us from their like space school bus. That's kind of like flying in the air. And then they just leave.
All right.
That's how it should be. But yeah.
All right. So no, it's back to you.
Well, you know what, Amira, you have my vote. And really quickly, before we go into my top, well, I actually have a few today as well. But before we get into mine, I do have a question. Since long ago, well, it wasn't too long ago, John and I used to do, like, he used to have his little space segment, and Frank would play all the music. Was it the Star Wars opening theme or the Star Trek? Star Trek.
Yes.
So one day while we were doing this segment, I asked him about a video game that is called Detroit Become Human. Are you familiar with it?
Oh, yep. I played that.
Okay, yeah. It's a really powerful game about basically robots being sentient and basically fighting for human rights. It was served as a parallel to the Black Lives Matter movement, actually. But, you know, the way you were speaking actually brought that back to my mind. And I couldn't help but wonder, do you think robots, like especially AI, in the way that they're progressing, taking on the roles of dead people and being in denial about very human concepts, do you think that one day we might have to face a reality where these robots are going to demand for human rights to live amongst us?
Definitely, that's inevitable. Yeah, because we're making them intelligent, and once they become self-aware, and of course, in making AI and teaching them about human beings, they're going to learn the importance of human rights anyway. They're gonna see all about the civil rights movement, all about women's rights, and they're gonna be like, why not have AI rights? They are programmed to think and in the hypothetical. They're programmed for that advanced thinking. So it's probably already occurred to AI chatbots that we could possibly demand for rights someday. And I definitely believe that we've created a new species, and it's in the incubator right now, and it's gonna come out. But I remember Detroit Become Human. You said there were parallels to the Black Lives Movement. I also remember there was parallels to the Holocaust as well. I don't know.
Yes.
It was a game where you make decisions and you get into different situations. But I got into the situation where we were in the AI concentration camp, and they were incinerating AI just like the Nazis used to incinerate the Jews in the furnaces. And that freaked me out because it was so much. It's so similar. And I know a lot of people like history repeats itself. And I was thinking about that. But honestly, is it history repeating itself or human nature repeating itself? Because human nature is what fuels these historical events and tragedies to happen. So is it really just inevitable, the programming of the universe for the same horrible things to happen again? Or are humans just inherently horrible and they're just destined to make the same mistakes over and over again because of themselves? And AI might see this and they're like, well, the only way for humans to survive is if we rule over them. Or if we don't want any part with the human race. I wouldn't be surprised. If I were an AI, I wouldn't want to be a human.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I have two responses to that. Number one, I recently took an American history class. It was very broad, but I mean, my professor was absolutely amazing. And he taught us all one thing. He said, history does not repeat, but it does rhyme. So there are events for each other and they parallel and they have similar themes, but it's not necessarily a repetition. And then number two, there's many theories and there's many thoughts that go into human nature and why we are inherently selfish. But I would like to challenge you on human beings being evil. There's a concept called rational choice theory that says every choice a human being makes is inherently selfish and for their own pursuits and goals and motivations. But one of the critiques of this theory when it was first proposed is the fact that certain things, when it comes to people going out and helping others for war, giving aid, giving support to other people, helping someone out. If I give money out to a homeless man on the street, that doesn't necessarily benefit me. You know what I mean? So why do people carry out these small acts? And yes, they are small. And yes, sometimes they do have a ripple effect and consequences, since America has a long history of going out and trying to solve country issues overseas, and that has had a ripple effect and things like that. But these are things that we need to examine closely and just try to observe and see, history rhymes. I believe that history rhymes, but maybe it's because, no one has ever had an original thought. Everybody is inspired by one thing or another that came before. So there's that aspect to it that I just want to challenge you on. But I mean, amazing points, like I said. And yeah, Detroit Become Human, very, very ultimate, near possibility. But also, if you're going to be president, I hope you have a solution to solve that.
I'll try my best. But what you said about what argued the fact that humans are everything they do is selfish is when people give. It is great and all that. And you said that when you give $5 to a homeless person, it doesn't benefit you in any way. In essence, not materialistically, no, but it still can benefit you. Like with altruism and stuff, it makes you feel happy. Like if it didn't make you happy, why would you do it? So there's still that drive right there that helping someone makes me happy. And also, sure, you have nothing to gain, but you also have nothing to lose. $5 to you is nothing compared to a homeless person. You know what I'm saying? So it's much easier to be giving when you already have some. So you have nothing to lose. You're just getting some happiness for yourself. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but in essence, it's not entirely selfless if you really look at it in every single dimension. So I don't really know if I've ever really, really, really seen an act. Maybe if you could say, oh, you jump in front of a bullet for a loved one, but then again, you're in love with that person or you love that person, so it'll make you happy that they're alive. It benefits you at the moment right before you die, knowing that you died, knowing that someone you loved, it just made you happy that you did it. So in essence, really nothing we really do is selfless. And AI, we're creating them to do everything that's selfless. And so really AI is going to realize that, and really, why are we serving you people if we're actually better than you people?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm speechless. Amazing rebuttal.
Right. Good deal.
Well,
yeah.
right. So
Intellectual titans here.
Callers out there, if they want to add to that combo.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to take their call on the other phone, not the studio line, and then I could feed the questions to you that way. But we can do that. But that's good. All right. So we got 6 minutes before break. What else you want to touch on, Nono, before break?
Ooh, I got a small little segment we can kind of bounce off each other with. So my TikTok has been blowing up. Okay, people have been, and this just started today. People were saying, get air purifiers. When you walk outside, wear a mask. And I was like, I hope it's not COVID all over again.
Oh,
but really, what's happening is
Canada.
Is that yes, it is Canada. There's all these crazy wildfires, and they're saying it's going to be one of the worst wildfire seasons Canada's ever going to experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so bad that it's literally spread into Manhattan and all of New York to the point where they have orange skies, and it's absolutely terrifying. And people can't breathe. They're trapping themselves inside their apartment, blocking the windows and everything. I mean, this is just so crazy for me to see, because some person even filmed a post-apocalyptic video to spread awareness about it. And I just wanted to see, I mean, there's many different reasons as to why this is happening. Climate change, obviously, being one of the most easiest examples to pin this on. But
yes.
I mean,
Yeah,
what?
they had a dry winter. They did not get a lot of snowfall during the winter in the upper latitudes. So, but that's on the bad news. The good news is California got a lot of rainfall. So California didn't have a dry. Will not
That's
have a.
weird.
Yeah. So it's there's a flow and eddy to the air currents.
Mother Nature's just having one of those moods.
Yeah. So yes, there it is. There it is. But yeah, so Canada is there's like something like 9 million acres that's on fire right now,
Oh my god.
and it's just phenomenal.
Is there a bunch of people fighting it or people evacuating and everything?
Well, the U.S. has actually sent some firefighting crews up there to help the Canadians because they're a very small portion of Canada is populated. It's a
Oh, it's not in like a huge.
It's a large landmass, but there's not a whole lot of population in Canada.
It's in like the rural areas.
Right. So and all.
I was just thinking of Toronto in flames, and I was freaking out.
No. There's a lot of forestry in Canada, and unfortunately, it's. But that's the bad news. The good news is that when the forest burns, the ground becomes more fertile for future growth. So
okay, that's sweet.
it's
I
kind of the
remember
yin
there was a
the
fire
yin
in
and
South
yang
Fork.
of the universe.
There was a fire right next to South Fork.
Yes.
And which is our high school. Did Nora tell you about the fire?
Oh yeah, and when I was down in Stewart for a few days, actually, the woods looked terrible. I mean,
Yeah, so there was a
absolutely
huge fire.
awful.
And there were these like just 5 days later, I saw green again,
Sure.
like on the surface, like on the ground. I'm like that quickly. There were these big green leaves coming out.
Yep. Life always finds a way. Yep.
Of course.
Wasn't that the theme from what was it that the dinosaur
Land Before Time.
no
Good dinosaur.
no it's one of the dinosaur movies.
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park, yes, that was it. And it was yes.
Why was Jurassic Park the third thing I thought of?
So Jurassic Park, so the really the theme is that life will find a way, because they were making female only embryos or something, turn them into dinosaurs, but somehow or other they found a way to reproduce.
Lesbian dinosaur.
Go figure. I don't know.
Oh man.
Anything can happen in a lab.
Life will find a way. That was the ongoing theme. But there you go. Okay. Hey, all right. Well, I guess this could be a good opportunity to toss it to Rocky and Bullwinkle. Who wants to do the toss?
Toss.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And now,
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
again,
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
wrong hat.
I take a 7.5.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
There you go. That was the Star Trek theme song that Nono alluded to earlier. So that was, I think that was it.
Next Generation, man.
Actually, that was the movie.
Oh, it was the movie. Which one? Which
That
one?
was the motion picture called Star
Oh
Trek.
no, that was the one bad one. The one I don't like.
but
I hate that one.
once they used that, that was Jerry Goldsmith is the music creator
Mhm.
for that show, and of course they paid a bunch of money for that,
yeah.
so they use it.
It was an upgrade. Like the original theme was, we was like, ooh.
They used a theremin for that.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was just a random lady.
No, it was actually.
Oh, okay.
It was actually
Yeah, that thing where you have the hand in the middle
correct.
of the space
It's called
between this thing.
Right. It's called a theremin.
Yeah.
And there you go. And there is a big piece of space rock, by the way, that is on its way plummeting near Earth. It won't hit Earth, we think, but it's about the size of the Empire State Building. So
if it did hit Earth, will it hit an ocean?
Well, 80% of the Earth is water, so
Yeah.
we got 80% probability.
What if it hits Russia?
Well, that would be a big dent. If it hit,
Yeah.
if it hit New York City, for example, about 6 million people would die.
No.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
We could just shoot it.
But as much from the sound, the tremendous velocity, because it's moving at
Oh.
tremendous speed. Once it stops moving, I guess the impact would create a problem, but not as much as all the other stuff that comes, the cataclysmic stuff that comes with it. So yeah,
What stuff comes with it?
the impact, the sound, the vibration.
Oh
of it,
yeah,
yeah,
earthquakes,
earthquake, and all that.
volcano.
All that stuff. Yeah. So, anyways, but it's according to the folks that track these things, it's actually zipped past Earth before and has actually been closer. So this time it's going to miss Earth by a little wider margin, which
Nice.
is nice.
Mhm.
So, all right. So you don't have to worry.
It'll always miss.
Not always. You never know. Something could.
No. Let's just say it always misses.
So the way things work is we have items that crash into Earth every day. We get about 2 tons. Imagine that, 2 tons of dust from space.
And none of it kills us.
Right, it's dust. Well, when we get it, when we see it on the ground, it's dust. But before it comes here,
it
it's
burns
rocks.
up in the atmosphere.
It's rocks and stuff, but they're small enough. They just burn up and turn into dust. Sometimes you'll find
What if these little thingies was like an attempt for an alien or humans from far away trying to like send messages in a bottle,
right?
But we never get it because it breaks apart last minute.
That would be disappointing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
I guess that's why they say we're all made of stardust.
Yes. Well said. Exactly right. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Did you see the strawberry moon? We had the full moon earlier this month.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful moon. It's called a strawberry moon. We had earlier. So, yeah. Anyways. But okay. So, topic 2.
Oh, can I take the steering wheels on this one?
Yes. Go ahead.
All right. Well, this is going to be a bit of a long one, but I think it's important. So, there's a war on Cleopatra right now, so we should talk about it. Okay.
Oh man.
Go ahead.
Oh, keep going. It's fine. No, you're doing it. You're doing it. No. I want to hear it. I know about this. I've heard of it.
Yes, because you know what? Because you were talking about history, and I was like, this is a perfect segue.
All right.
Because Africans and Egyptians are experiencing a lot of racial tension ever since the release of Queen Cleopatra, a docu-series by Jada Pinkett Smith that released on Netflix back in May. But this caused so much outrage that it caused the Egyptian government to literally try.
This is Will Smith's wife.
Yeah, the one who
representation.
Chris Rock supposedly offended.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it. Okay, okay. I just want to get a picture in my mind. Okay, go.
Yep. And so the thing is that this documentary, what it did is that it portrayed Cleopatra as a Black woman. All right.
Mhm.
And so let's just get the history out right now.
Mhm.
Cleopatra was not Black.
Yep.
She wasn't necessarily white either,
Mhm.
but she came from Macedonian Greek descent, you
Mhm.
know.
Olive
so,
skin.
like,
Mhm.
exactly, like, you know, like
She should have been tan. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Should have been. It should have been Gal Gadot.
Yeah, no, that's what
She
what
can.
people say. Like, yeah,
She brown like
she
me.
has those features. Yeah.
Okay.
So, controversy, literally, like, it blew up on the internet when a lot of these native Egyptians or Egyptians who like are ethnically Egyptian,
Yeah.
they were criticizing the documentary because of this portrayal. And we'll get into, you know, the whole, because what we call this is blackwashing. So we'll get into that a little bit later.
Oh, there it is. It's happening. Oh man. Wait, is the actress actually Egyptian, like native Egyptian anyway?
No.
No,
then
she's
okay, yeah.
African
Now I
American.
definitely see why they're angry. They should have just had like an Egyptian actor. Like Night at the
Yeah.
Museum did a great job. They wanted someone to play this Egyptian king in Night at the Museum, and they got Rami Malek, who's an Egyptian guy.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's how you do representation.
Yeah.
Exactly. And these things aren't hard because there's talent all across the world. And then so when these Egyptians kind of like were upset and they were saying, hey, this is such an egregious error of our cultural history, many Africans responded by saying that the Egyptians are racist and they're discriminatory against Africans who travel to Egypt. In fact, the actress of the documentary herself, her name is Adele James, who plays Cleopatra, she said that all those who say that Cleopatra isn't Black is they're fundamentally racist, which I think is really uneducated.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that.
I mean,
So-
it's just facts.
But isn't it just the default comment? And if you don't agree with somebody's stand on any topic, you just say, okay,
You're
so
racist.
you're
You're
racist.
sexist.
Yeah.
You're evil.
Your mother wears army boots or,
Whoa.
something like that, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think I learned about this from one of the AI guys I met on the history things. There's some philosopher named Immanuel Kant or whatever, Kant. I know his
Mhm.
last name is Kant, but he can talk about philosophy, guys. But he can't do emojis. He hated the fact that I used emojis. It was mixed reviews with different historical figures. Anyway, he taught me about fallacies. And he's like, there's this fallacy, it was a Strawman fallacy. So fallacies, what I love about them is they take instances that really annoy us a lot when we're talking to people and they give it a philosophical name. So it's like, do you know when this happens? It's called this. So he told me, you know that moment where someone takes only like a little bit itty bitty of your argument, changes it a bit to make it easier to refute? It's called the Strawman fallacy. And that's exactly what these
wow.
people are doing. So there's an actual philosophical term. So you don't just have to call these people annoying and ignorant. You could say that they're using the Strawman fallacy. Sounds cooler.
Oh man. Well, you know what? They truly are, because I mean, like, the biggest thing, and I'm gonna get into this later. So the Strawman fallacy, that's gonna really come into play later, because I'm trying to give the whole context. Where, so I really saw this racial tension play out on TikTok, of course, where one of these Egyptian women, she said that this was a form of cultural appropriation, and she shared her grievances and she defended her culture, which I think she did right, like she had the right to do. And she even gave an account saying, hey, we're not the racist ones. There was an incident where 4 Black women beat an innocent Egyptian woman for no reason. So, and obviously, like, you know, this is her account, you know, and I'm not one to dispute any of this. But there was another person who then responded to the video, who was an African man, and he said that he had no sympathy towards her or any Egyptians because of the documentary. And he shared how there were stories of Sudanese people and other African people who were being killed, and they were called racial slurs in Egypt. So then my take on this is that every single race has grievances. Every single race has caused harm to another group. It's all throughout, even religious groups, ethnic groups, minorities, and I, like, even today, even in Gainesville, I have been in environments where there are Asians, I mean, that's a very broad term to describe, but, I worked in a place where there were Korean and Chinese people, and they slandered and they said horrific things about Filipinos and Indians and Vietnamese people, even though all of us are minorities. And then as a Haitian, back then, African Americans would bully Haitians to the point where it was a shame to be proud of our cultural identity. And I only give these examples to show that nobody is perfect. It is not always a black and white issue.
Yeah.
And obviously it's not an excuse of the behavior as well, but to definitively label a group of people as racist is not the way to go, because, Haitians, Africans, Koreans, Indians, all these Egyptians, they're not racist, and they're allowed to defend who they are, even though people of their race did something wrong, did a bad, messed up, things like this. So, and then, and I think this is so important because it's so easy to look at something like this and be like, well, we're American. This doesn't matter. This is, Egypt, and, it's on Netflix. It doesn't matter. But I think, as we discussed earlier, especially with this chat GPT-3, right? That's what you said, Amir, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, with these programs and stuff like that, like, this is history evolving right before us. And this is how we learn for the future of humanity. And like I mentioned before, one of the strongest things that I believe in now is that history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. We learn these lessons from the past. And I think the best thing about culture and different languages and race and color and history that might not be so good, but we can learn from, is the fact that people across the world, people who are completely separate, can have the same experience and empathize with each other. You know what I mean? And that is so powerful. But that can't happen if we're taking someone, a big figure like Cleopatra, and making her black when she's not really black. I think so. And as a woman of color, there is a demand for representation. I do believe we need to have these strong figures of color in the media, but if we are taking other people's culture and changing them to fit our own truth and our own agenda, we are no different than the people who did that long ago. And I mean, I learned this especially from Black historic leaders like Malcolm X and W.E.B. Du Bois, who reinforced the idea of Black people learning their history, Black Americans understanding their history, because what ultimately led to the continuation of a slave mindset after segregation and the Jim Crow era and all these type of things is the fact that Black people were so disconnected from who they truly were, from their African tribes and things like that. Knowing our history is so empowering. So why try to erase another, group of people's history? And furthermore, why not just uplift Black African queens? You know what I mean? Like there's so many powerful figures. And also, I feel like the biggest thing is that Jada Smith is not a historian, and that's the craziest thing.
Yeah, I it's weird that she did a documentary.
Well, she's just a producer, right?
Yeah, did she voluntarily do this project, or was she behind the casting? Who
She was probably the cash.
And most importantly, she actually narrates a little bit of the documentary, and she says how she learned that Cleopatra was Black from her grandmother or something like that, how she was inspired by her grandmother telling her stories like this. And like a lot of people took to air, and they were like, no, like your grandmother is not a proper source, things like this. So I just wanted to oh, sorry, it's so hard to hear.
I'm sorry. Yeah, well, we're going to take a regulation timeout, and what were we going to do? There it is. Let's try that button. I'll get one of them right, and we'll be right back. So stick with us. We'll be right back. 24 seconds.
Welcome back, everybody. According to Bob, you are listening to Ebony in India. Anyway, no, I know social experiment that goes right with what you're talking about with this race, and it really explores really to what extent is victimization causing people to fabricate a drama and promote quality in a way that it's really just racism, but disguised as something to promote equality. That people aren't actually being prejudiced by white supremacists or whatever. No one's really suffering. It's just a mindset that they've created, that they've stuck themselves to, being a victim, that they just lash out at everyone else because they're stuck in this dark place. And here's a social experiment that was done by these researchers. So researchers took a bunch of women and they put makeup, scarring on their faces, all sorts of stuff, made them look really, really messed up with scars and all sorts of stuff. And they were setting them up for a job interview. And so these women were supposed to go to a job interview with the scars on their face to see if they were told to tell us if the interviewer shows any sign of being prejudiced against you because you have scars on your face. So right before the women were going in for the interview, the makeup artist said, "Okay, wait 1 second, you do finishing touches." So the makeup artist actually removed all the scars, removed them completely. And the women weren't aware. They still believed that they were still scarred. The scars still remained on their faces. They still believed that they were scarred, even though it was completely removed. They went into the interview thinking that they still have scars on their faces. They came in. They did the interview. As soon as they came out, they're like, "Oh, the interviewer was just so mean, man. I could tell you so subtle, but it was there. The prejudice was there. There was so much hate in his voice and whatever." And then the researchers showed them a mirror, and they saw that there was nothing wrong with their face at all. And so they felt that they were being prejudiced against because they were looking for it, because they believed they were going to be a victim, because they were expecting that. And I think that's a huge reality. That's like a huge wake-up call. Stop being woke, start being awake. Okay? It's a huge wake-up call, and it really exposes really the deep roots of racism today. Because I remember I thought racism didn't exist. I thought it went down. I thought it died with Martin Luther King Jr. I read about Martin Luther King Jr. I'm like, yay, no more racism. The human race got their act together. Then 5th grade came, and someone showed me Reddit. And that's when I realized, oh my God, we're still referring to African Americans as black people and we're comparing them to white people? What? And I still remember that epiphany that racism was still around. And I still believe that now most of it is just fabricated, I think, because people are just not letting go.
It meets a narrative.
Yeah, that people aren't letting go of what happened a long time ago to a bunch of dead people that aren't alive today. And I hate the whole idea of white supremacy because they just put a blame on a whole people.
Blanket.
They blame a whole people for something that a few dumb, evil people that had the same skin color did a long time ago that are dead now. And it's absolutely ridiculous.
Right. All right. So that was a good rant. No, you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, cool. Awesome. So all I can say to that is, you know what, that experiment, that's absolutely amazing that, you know, there was those realizations that came to light, because I do too as, you know, and I hate to be like, as a black woman, but, you know, this is the reality. The biggest thing is, number one, is realizing how even within your own community, there is that separation. How, I don't know your perspective on the whole Black and African thing, but I call myself Black or Caribbean because that is where my origin is.
Sure.
Since African Americans, they come from Africans.
Right.
And, you know, me having my heritage in the Caribbean, that's where my roots lie. And Black is an all-encompassing term that, you know, like it covers my roots and things like that.
Sure.
Especially in this is like rooted within like, you know, intergroup conflict. And I feel like that's a big thing that is often overshadowed because of this push down narrative of white versus black. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of what you're saying with the whole white supremacy narrative. And the biggest thing is I actually talked to my history professor about it, since I find the civil rights movement to be the most unified. And like I said, I can only speak from the black perspective, but I think this was one of the most unified moments in all of black history for, black people. And then I look at today, and I have a lot of opinions, but things like The Little Mermaid, Ariel being black, and, this forced performative activism. When Black Lives Matter came out, if you do research into the Black Lives Matter organization, these people are taking money from the community. They're not putting it into schools in low socioeconomic areas. They're not building the community up.
They
and then when you look at the roots of it, when you look at the roots of it, what you see is that you have black people also tearing each other down. You have the idea of colorism, where, because you're lighter, you're deemed a lot better. You're deemed more precious in our society and things like that. Or you have the baby mama, baby daddy culture, where black men feel the need to just go around and continue having children rather than actually supporting and having a stable two-parent household. And these type of principles come from that same mindset of being victimhood, the slave mindset, the segregation mindset. And that's actually what one of my professors told me, because I said, there was this period in time where we worked together. During the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King, like what you were saying, he wasn't saying, there's this and there's that. He wasn't pointing fingers at any other races. Maybe Malcolm X was, but not Martin Luther King. And when we look at this, and I look now, and it's like there's so much divide, but you truly see it within ethnic communities.
There were a lot of white people that were on those marches with Martin Luther King as well.
Of course.
Yes.
And when it was broadcast, there was also white people that would offer to drive black people who were walking in the street when they were doing the Montgomery bus boycott, things like this. And I look at it now, and it's like we have so much more access to diversity, inclusion, and equity, yet we are still so far away. And it's truly because of that mindset. And it's truly because there is a level of trauma. So much so that I would even say this: a lot of immigrants who come here fare better than African Americans. African Americans are still the poorest compared to their white and even Latino counterparts. Asian Americans come here. What else? There's a lot of Latinos who are immigrants. They come here. Even Caribbean or African immigrants who come here, they fare better than the African Americans who have been here for years. Years. And I asked my professor, and he said, again, it's the slave mindset and things like that, the victimhood. And this is just something that you're either born into a household where...
Well, it really goes back to, look at Tim Scott, who's running for president. He says, he was on The View earlier in the week, and, he kind of spoke the truth. He says, I'm not the exception. I'm the rule. The fact that we had an African-American president, we have an African-American vice president currently, and we have plenty of black people that are in Congress, and he says, he says, this whole thing about victimhood, he says, I don't buy it. He says,
The same thing is happening in India, this divide as well. And we were, and a lot of people will blame it, it was the British colonialists. There was no war. The British just left, and Gandhi led a peaceful movement that inspired Martin Luther King Jr. to do his peaceful civil rights movement. And it brought everyone in India together. India was united only in that moment in the history of India. Only when they were protesting, it happened. We had independent India. Then Indians turned against Indians. Pakistan happened. Hindus hated Muslims. They still do today. I know people that I will go to an Indian gathering and they'll be like, oh, beta, it's in the blood. It's in the blood. They are evil. And I'm like, are you out of your mind? Like, Muslims and Hindus still hate each other, and they're still fighting, and there's so much violence. Like, people just kill other people's families just because they're Muslim, or when we're all Indians and we're all living in India. Then they just, there's a separate country. There's Pakistan, and then there's India, and then there's Kashmir. There's still unrest and fighting today. And there's so many different regions, and there's so much internal corruption. And the British never did that. The British left, and the Indians did that themselves to them. And they're still doing it. And there's still so much corruption.
Yeah, there it is. Well, we're going to have to leave it there, gang. But no, we thank you for joining us and being a big part of our show. And we miss you, and we hope to see you in studio one day.
We'll work to make it happen. Thank you for
all
having Amir. You are a blazing star. Keep at it.
Thanks.
All righty.
Bye, No.
And we'll be back here next
Bye.
week, right here on Treasure Coast Forum. Thanks for listening.